Hi everyone, it's Tammy with Shabby Fabrics. I have a really beautiful quilt behind me. This is Tennessee Waltz, and we've done this in Blueberry Delight. This is a wonderful Moda collection by Bunny Hill Designs. Absolutely gorgeous. Love the blue florals, love everything about this quilt. So normally, a Tennessee Waltz quilt is very difficult to do. I'm going to show you a super easy way to do this. We have a ruler from Creative Grids. This is the 2 peaks in 1 6-inch triangle ruler. This is going to make your life very easy. We've got some excellent tips along the way. So before I get started, I do have a full color pattern. We do have a backing option, so if you want this kit, you need to get it quick. We only have so many kits. Moda only does so much fabric. We've already ordered everything that we can. This kit, it will be gone. This is the backing option for this kit. It's absolutely gorgeous with the blue floral. I love it. So this is your backing option. If you want that, pick that up. I do have a few notions on the table. I'm going to talk to you about a seam setter guide and seam guides today. I have the Carrera Color Builder Aurifil 3-pack. There's a black, white, and a silver in there. If you love Aurifil thread and you just need those colors, just pick that up. We generally sew with one of those three colors. I do have some Wonder Clips for when you're doing your binding. Your Clover extra fine patchwork pins. I have a blade saver. This is a very handy tool for when you are chain piecing, and you can reuse your old rotary blades in a blade saver and simply take them apart. Top stitch needles and 80-12 is what we're using. I do have a seam ripper. Now I'm just going to set this to the side because I really don't want to use this today, but I have to have my trusty seam ripper with me. I have a pair of Karen K. Buckley scissors. I like these small ones. Rotary cutter, blades. A fresh blade is nice. The Creative Grids rotating mat. I love this mat. We're going to be using this when we're doing some star singles and trimming up with that. A wool pressing mat and an iron. That's what I have on set with me. So let's get started with our project. All right, so I have a star singles. I love star singles. We use them all the time here. They're the fastest, most efficient way to make half square triangles. Piece of paper, very thin paper. I have 2 squares, and I'm going to put them right sides together. I'm going to lay my star single on top, and I'm just going to pin it, just to secure it, just like this. 4 places. I don't need to pin this down completely. It's not going to go anywhere. To do a star single, you're going to start with number 1. You're going to sew on the dotted line. So then I'm going to start here. I'm going to reduce my stitch length to about 2.0. The BERNINAs run, the default I believe is 2.5. We do reduce that stitch length. It makes the paper much easier to tear away. So then we're going to start on number 1, stitch up to the dot, turn, stitch on 2, 3, 4, and continue all the way through till you exit on number 8. Here's what that looks like when you're done. Okay? Now we just trim it up. That's the easy part, right? We grab a rotary cutter and a ruler. So I'm just going to trim this up on the solid lines. All right. And we are just going to keep spinning our mat and trimming up our star single. I'm just going to take one of these off of here and show you how easy it is to take that paper off. So you're cutting on the solid lines. This is what that looks like. You can press it now. Let's do that. Press this now, like this. That is beautiful. And then remove the paper. To do that, I like to grab a hold of that seam allowance, give it a good fold. I'm going to hold this with my thumbnail right at the very top, and I'm just going to pull that paper, comes right off of there, just like that. Now this is a great job for a husband or a grandchild or a child who wants to help you out in your sewing room. See how quickly that came off of there? No problem. I think my iron's a little hotter now. We can press this out. And now I have a perfect, this should be 3.5 inches because my finished size is 3 inch. Let's check. This is a 3.5 by 6.5 inch ruler. Look at that, it is dead on. I love that. No drawing the lines, no cutting, no squaring up. Just sew on the lines, pull the paper off, you're done. All right, those are star singles. We have them in many, many sizes. So if you don't need a size 3 inch finish, you get them in all kinds of different sizes. All right, so let's talk about the ruler. I'm going to show you the block because I think that's important to see where we're going here. Let's turn it right side up. This is the block right here, okay? So these very deep peaks right here, that's what we're going to use the ruler to achieve, all right? So let's set my block here so we can keep an eye on that. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut a 3.5 inch strip, all right? This is for our large triangles that go in the center. I'm going to use the large triangle side. So on the left-hand side, when you're looking at this, your fabric width is right here. Tells me how big my strip is. My finished size is in black right here. So I'm going to use a 3.5 inch strip. So that's the mark we're using, and 3 inches right there. Okay, so let's go ahead and cut this. I'm going to give this a cut. I'm going to spin my mat. There we go. And cut this side. All right, so I cut 2 triangles at once. I left my strip folded because this triangle is symmetrical. You can easily leave your strip folded to save you time. All right, so let me cut another one of these off of here. Line this back up. There we go. There we go. All right, now we have a few to play with here. Okay, we'll put those aside. All right, now let's cut the half triangles. The half ones are the tricky ones. So we're going to leave our strip folded in half again. You can leave it right sides together or wrong sides together. It does not matter. We're going to use the pointy end of this, all right? So again, your width of your strip is in white on the left-hand side. Your finished size is on the right in the black. And I want you to note how there's a little divot right here in the top of this. You definitely want to make sure that you cut that little divot. Taking this little corner off right here is going to make these blocks go together really quickly. Creative Grids does that. They think ahead, and I love their products. All right, so I'm going to give this a cut this way. And you can see this is not a symmetrical piece that I am cutting right now. This piece, I need to move stuff out of my way. There we go. So I'm cutting a left side and a right side at the same time. They're going to be mirror images of each other. We're going to cut a little here and all the way down. All right, now we have one more cut on this triangle. We're going to come down here. We're going to slide this down just like this. We're going to line up the base of the triangle with the baseline. And you see this little corner poking out right here? I need to take that off. So let's do that. There we go. All right, let's look at our piece. So I have 2 mirror images of each other, just like this. So when I put this together with a triangle, I have, this is on one side and this is on the other. That's how that goes together to make this block. All right, so let's cut a couple more of these. Let's cut a couple more sets. I can cut this upside down. Let's do that. Because I ran through that pretty quick. All right, so I'm going to cut straight down. I'm going to cut that little tab off, that little tiny point. I'm going to slide my ruler toward myself now because I need to cut the bottom point off of this triangle. So I'm going to line it up with the baseline, and I'm going to take that point off right there. Okay, let's do it again. Let's do it from the other direction with my ruler right side up. Okay. We cut. We're going to take our tip off, just like that. We're going to slide the ruler up this time to baseline the bottom of this point. Move my ruler here. There we go. Baseline. Cut off this little point. Just like that. All right, now we have several of these. Okay, so now let's talk about how we actually sew these together. All right, so when I line this up, I'm going to line up this little tip. Remember this little tip, this little corner that we just cut off with the baseline? That lines up with this, with the top of my triangle. How cool is that? See that? Now I know I have this lined up correctly. This lines up at the bottom. And I do have a little bit of extra sticking out right here on this white point, and that's fine. But you see how this sits right in that corner? That's how I know I have this correct. Look, let me line these back up. Okay. I'm going to line this back up. All right. Let's pin another one. So I'm just folding this over. I lay them out like this. Fold them over. Line up your bottom first. So these points are right in that corner. Just like that. Put a little pin there. When you come up here to the top, you see how that's completely, it's just amazing. They're right together. I love that. Perfect. Now I'm going to sew 1/4 of an inch here to here. All right, so now let's talk about 1/4 of an inch. In the directions for this ruler that come with your ruler, they do say to use a very scant 1/4 inch. And I know that's a really scary word, a scant 1/4 inch. How much is a scant? How much smaller do I make my seam? A little bit, a lot? I don't know. That's always a tricky word. I have a solution for you. If you stress about that, like I know a lot of us do, I have a solution. This is going to make your life so much easier. This is a seam setter guide right here. This is by Guidelines for Quilting. It makes a scant 1/4 inch super easy. You are going to want to check this out. If you've never heard of this product, you're going to buy this one first. This one has the guide. The guide is what you need to accurately attach this to your sewing machine. These are peel and stick, and I'll tell you, we use these all the time here, and we can reuse one of them for quite some time before we have to replace it. But because there's only 6, I have a refill pack of 6 more. And now this is less expensive because you don't have to buy the guide again. You only have to buy the guide once. Then you can buy the refill pack. All right, so let's go to the machine. I'm going to show you how easy this is to attach and hook onto your machine, and then we're going to use it, and I'm going to show you how a scant 1/4 inch makes a perfect block. All right, so here we are at the machine. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use a lens wipe or some kind of cleaning. I like a lens wipe. It's got a little bit of alcohol in it, and it's going to take the oil off my machine because I want this thing to really stick. And you know you've got oil on your machine. So I'm just going to wipe this down. Right here is where I'm sticking that. Might as well clean this too, right? What the heck? Here we go. All right. So I have my guide, and this notch is where I'm going to put my needle. So let me grab my thread here. So the first thing I'm going to do is put my needle down. Well, now my foot is down, right? Your presser foot comes down. So I'm going to raise my presser foot up so I can slide my guide in, and I'm actually hooking that on my needle. Do you see that? It's hooked on my needle. Now I can move this around in any direction like this. So what I want to do is I'm looking at the different guides on my needle plate, and I'm making sure that I have this straight. I'm going to peel the paper off of the back of one of my guidelines, and I'm just going to set it in the groove. And I know I moved it. Okay, now it's just sitting there, right? I can still move it around. All right, so now I'm going to get this straight exactly where I want it. Before I put this down, I want to show you this mark right here is where my 1/4 inch on this Bernina is. And that's normally where I put my fabric when I sew, is right on that 1/4 inch. And then I know I have a perfect 1/4 inch. However, you can see how this guide is moving over to make a scant 1/4 inch. Do you see that little tiny bit? Now I could maybe eyeball that for a little while, but boy, I'll tell you, it's after you do this a lot, you forget. I think you forget that you have to take a scant 1/4 inch. I know I do, because you're so used to following that 1/4 inch. All right, so I'm sliding this guidelines back in there, and now I'm just going to put this down right here. I'm going to seal that down. All right, I'm going to release the guide, take it back off my needle, and now you can see it is sitting ever so slightly to the left, so it's making my seam allowance a scant 1/4 inch. All right, so let's grab our project and sew some pieces and show you how this works. I'm going to run a couple of these through here. All right, let's press them out and we'll get the other side on. All right, we're back. I'm going to trim these apart. Get our pins out. These Clover extra fine patchwork pins are amazing for these projects. I love good pins. All right, I'm going to press my seam, flip this over, and press it again. Now I am using a wool pressing mat. Love the wool pressing mat. My seams are nice and crisp. All right, half our triangle is done. Okay, let's take the other side, put that on. Okay. Now, when I line up the top of this, it still lines up. Do you see that? It's perfect. I love that. Then you know you're doing it right, right? When you can line up stuff like that, it's like, okay, I am doing it correctly. You see how all these points all line up. The bottom lines up. This matches this and this. It's perfect. Everything lines up. I love that about a project. Sometimes when you're doing triangles and half square triangles, you don't know if you're doing it right because things don't line up right. It's like, I don't know what's supposed to line up. What am I doing? Well, Creative Grids, they're just, I love their tools. They really make your job a lot easier. Okay, so now I'm going to take this. I'm going to sew it. When I come back, we'll press it out. And then we're actually going to put a ruler on it and measure it and see if we're on our 3.5 inches like we should be. Okay, time for the moment of truth to see how this works. Let's press this out. Get a nice crisp seam here. That is perfect. And another one. Okay, I know you're all waiting to see if I actually nailed this or not. Here we go. This ruler is a 3.5 by 6.5, so I'm going to be measuring. My block should exactly fill this space. Here we go. Ho ho, look at that. It does. It is right on. You see that? My block is actually just a fraction bigger than 3.5. Oh, I love that. As a precision piecer, nothing makes me happier than being able to just skim off ever so slight amounts of my block, and I know it's perfect. It's going to go into my project exactly like I want it. Just like that. Beautiful. There's a perfect block for you, 3.5 inches. All right. So I did sew some of these at a regular 1/4 inch, and they're too small. Your blocks are just ever slightly too small. That's why. You need a scant 1/4 inch. So if the word scant frightens you like it does a lot of us, you're not alone. You are not alone. This seam setter guide is going to make your life easy. So let's lay a block out and take a look at what we got. So I have a center, and I have some 4 patches I did this morning, and another one, and another one. You can see we have some directional fabrics here, so we do have good instructions on how to get your 4 patches to come out exactly like you're seeing. And these blocks lay right in here, just like this. And this goes together just like you'd expect. So your rows together. Here's how I press that. I pressed away from my points, away from your points. Goes into your 4 patches here and here. These points away from my points to the center of my block. And then when I put this together, I did press my seams open. I think that's completely acceptable. I press seams open a lot, especially when I want to sharpen points and I want nice, well-defined seams. So there's your block. So thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you picked up some good tips on how to do more accurate piecing. The Tennessee Waltz Quilt is just absolutely gorgeous. It looks much more complicated than it is, definitely made more simple using the creative grids, 2 peaks and 1 ruler. Love this quilt. Be sure to pick that up. The pattern does come with this quilt. The backing is an option, and then you will see all of these other things that I have on my table. They're all options as well. Also, mastering that scant 1/4 inch seam allowance. Using the seam setter guide, you will be a master in no time, I promise. It's an amazing tool. Check it out, and I'll see you next time on a Shabby Fabrics tutorial.